So good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Siri Genik, and I am a director, one of the directors of Women in Mining Canada. And today we are completing the fourth in our Trailblazer Award webinar series that have been sponsored and supported very graciously and patiently by KPMG with Lily Tran's leadership. So again, Women in Mining Canada would like to thank both Lily and KPMG for all that you've done to support us. Today is, as I mentioned, the fourth Trailblazer, and as all the Trailblazer Awards, they are important. This one is particularly dear to my heart personally. We are speaking with Mary Caesar, who was the 2019 Women in Mining Canada Indigenous Trailblazer Award recipient. So before I pass the virtual microphone over to Mary, let me introduce you to Mary a little bit. By reading the letter that Mike Burke, who was the president of the Yukon Chamber of Mines, wrote to the jury about Mary. Mary is a Kaska Dena elder from the Liard First Nation in Watson Lake, Yukon, and member of the Wolf clan. She is an artist, writer, poet, mother, grandmother, and residential school survivor. Born in Upper Liard, her parents taught her traditional skills and teachings until she was removed from her family in 1961 for 4 years. While residential school devastated many lives, families, and communities, and everybody is on their own healing journey, Mary believes she has learned to survive and thrive due to the pride of her Kaska culture instilled from her parents and Kaska elders. In March of 2018, Mary Caesar proposed an Elders in Residence program to a neighboring mining project as a means to meaningfully engage the community and exchange information and knowledge. The program was successfully implemented the following May. 80 Kaska elders went through the program, living at the mining camp the entire season, staying a week at a time. The program was wrapped up with an elders youth retreat at the mining camp. The mining company was Golden Predator. Its CEO, a woman and trailblazer in her own respect, Janet Lee Sheriff, worked with Mary, and she mentioned in her letter that over 80% of the planning committee and of the program were female, and that elders, women, and youth worked together to understand the importance of the community in the mining industry. So Mary, I now hand over the microphone to you. We welcome you to this webinar, and we look forward to listening to your story, your journey as an elder, as a woman, as an Indigenous person who can teach us all that, or at least some of what your journey has been like. Mary, I look forward to listening to you. We all look forward to listening to you.
Okay. So I could start now?
Please, Mary, yes.
Okay, my name is Mary Caesar. I'm a Kaska Dena elder, artist, writer, and poet from the Watson Lake, Yukon. My Indian name is Strong Woman Walkin'. Translated in Kaska, it's Git Danny Netset Ayal. Git Danny Tlan Netset Ayal. I'm still on a journey of healing, exploration, painting, and producing native crafts. I paint because it helps me on my healing journey. I'm a residential school survivor, so my art and writing helps me to cope and heal on an everyday basis. and helps me with my life as an Indigenous woman artist. I face challenges every day living in the town of Watson Lake because we live in a small, remote northern town. The cost of living is very high. The food and gas prices here is expensive, and living on social assistance is not enough to live on. Presently, we as Liard First Nations members, we still live in poverty in our communities. The monies given to Liard First Nations Chief and Council and Executive from the mine companies still don't get to the Liard First Nations band members. This has been going on for years, since the mine companies have set up their companies on our traditional lands. Back in 2011, the Kaska Nation had a meeting with all Kaska bands, chiefs and councils, and they formed a collaboration agreement. It was a sharing accord. In the agreement, the Kaska chiefs and councils stated that the mine companies have to give each Kaska band's monies called contributions on a quarterly annual basis. The monies were to be shared with band members as written in the sharing accord. Since the historic meeting, I have not received any monies that LFN received from the mine companies. There is still a lot of greed and corruption in our bands. There is a sexist attitude too among Kaska chiefs and councils and men in general, that women are below them in status. This attitude Kaska men have learned from the European men and dominant society. The Kaska women in our community still suffer from violence, racism, and sexist attitudes, oppression, poverty, lack of respect from the Kaska men in leadership and from Native people and from non-Native people. So we as Indigenous women still face a lot of challenges to survive. There's still an attitude that mining is a man's domain. I would like to see that attitude change toward women in mining. There's a prediction from our ancestors and elders that the men will run the mines, but it will be the women who will have to help clean up Mother Earth. The mess that the men will create from mining, it'll be the woman's responsibility to clean up Mother Earth. I would like to see the Elders and Residents program continue and be implemented in all the mine companies on our traditional Kaska land. I would also like to see the elders and grassroots band members get our share of the monies directly from the mine companies. I feel that the mine companies have to take more responsibility and action to ensure that the monies they give to LFN Chief and Council and other Kaska bands be distributed to all LFN band members and Kaska members evenly. There must be a way for all Kaska people to benefit from the monies the mine companies earn. This is our basic human right as stated in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, implemented in 2011 at the United Nations. I hope that in the future, more Indigenous women of all ages get training to work in the mining industry. The mining industries need to provide on-the-job training for Indigenous women. They need to provide opportunities for employment and on-the-job training for women to get out of poverty, to earn an income to provide for their families. The challenges we face here in Watson Lake is that President LFN Chief and Council do not listen to the people. We have not had a community meeting or a GA for a year now. There is a lack of accountability and transparency in our band. I would like to see the Elephant Chieftain Council work with the elders and the people in the mining companies so that we will all benefit from the royalties and revenue sharing. I would like to see more Indigenous people Indigenous women get into leadership roles because we need to make positive changes in our communities. We still have a lot of health and social issues in our communities caused by the effects of the residential school system and other historical trauma that needs to be addressed and that has affected our Kaska people. I hope Women in Mining promote my book, My Healing Journey, to share and teach the public about my experience in Lower Post Residential School. The Indigenous Trailblazer Award means a lot to me. I am grateful to receive the award because it meant your organization appreciated and honored my role in starting the Elders in Residence program with Golden Predator. I would like to be involved in promoting Indigenous women and elders in the mining industry. In the future, I hope more Native women be involved and that we help our people to get out of the poverty that we're in, and also we need to train our young people. And that's all I have written for now or want to share.
Mary, thank you. Sorry, you were going to say and?
Pardon?
So, and I apologize, I interrupted your sentence.
Well, I'll just say that I just shared what I shared right now, and maybe I could just give this phone to Susan, and also like to acknowledge that Susan Magan helped us with the Elders in Residence program with Golden Predator, and that our elders, I wanted to thank our elders too in the Elders in Residence program. I'd like to see our Elders in Residence program continue with Golden Predator and also with all the other mine companies on our Kaska traditional lands, because I feel this is that our elders, as elders, we have to get proactive in the mining industry, and we have to start getting proactive in all the health and addressing the health and social issues in our communities. And I feel that this is just a start, and this is an innovative and important program for the Kaska Nation and for Liard First Nations.
Mary, thank you very much for sharing that with us. It is certainly important, and all the issues you raise are very important, and creating awareness, I think, is probably the first step in that journey for all of us.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Elders in Residence program? So how did it happen? I know it was your idea and came, I believe, over a coffee with Janet. Could you tell us a little bit about your journey with this idea and how you helped build or take it along the path to where it is today?
Yes. Like back in 2015, I met Sam Wallenham. He worked for Selwyn Yukon Mining, and he was in the process of starting an Elders in Residence program for the mining company, but it didn't go through, or there wasn't any follow up. And so that's where the idea started from. And then in March 2018, I went to a mining conference at Watson Lake Recplex, and Janet was there and Golden Predator, and they had a 2-day workshop or mine conference in Watson Lake. And anyways, I was sitting there and I was sitting with some other elders, and one of the young Kaska elders, young men, Don Magan, approached me and he said, "Mary, why did you talk to Janet?" He said, "Go up there, Mary." He said, "Try to get someone for us elders, for the elders." He said, he really encouraged me. Like I was just kind of like prompted by Dawn.
Okay.
And I was like, what am I going to say? I don't know, like, what to say, or I was just kind of like...
a little bit shy, maybe.
Yeah, I was kind of shy, and I was like, I'm just going to go up there anyway. I'm going to talk to Janet, and there was some other elders that were up there talking to Janet and Susan.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the other elders were like really angry. Like they were like, "How come like all these mine companies on our traditional land and we're not even benefiting? We don't even get a dime out of all the monies they're making." Like some of our elders are very straightforward, like
very blunt.
And yes, and they were expressing their anger and frustration, I guess, with Janet, and so I thought, like, well, I think I gotta try to be diplomatic and just like try another approach instead of like being angry. And I was angry too.
Of course.
Like, still feel angry because so far we never got no monies yet. Us grassroots people and us elders from the monies the mine companies are given to LFN and other bands, Kaska bands. So, and I was like, I just asked Janet. I said, Janet, why did you start a elders in residence program with your Golden Predator company? I said, us elders, we need jobs too, because so far, like, all the mine companies just hire young people to work in their companies, and I was like, we want to benefit too. Like, us elders, we want to get involved, and we want jobs too. Like, and we need an elders and a residence program implemented in your mine company and other mine companies.
You just a second. Can you explain to the audience what is an elders in residence program?
An elders in residence program is a program where us elders will help the mining companies and help our people. It's sort of like a process or a program where the mine companies bring in our elders to their mining sites, and where we as elders will teach the mine companies and the people that work in the mine companies to learn about our traditional ways, and we could teach them about our traditional ways of medicine gathering, our songs, and our traditional knowledge. I feel we have to share.
Around the land, for example, around how to respect the land, and as you mentioned earlier, Mother Earth and the animals and the land, that kind of knowledge that you were sharing.
Yes. Also, like, we want the mine companies to respect our traditional knowledge and our traditional ways, and also how to do their mining in a way that will protect the animals and our environment. But
respectful of basically the whole landscape.
yes, I feel that as elders need to teach the mine companies on safe mining practices and how to protect our lands and our animals, our resources in a way as they do their mining, so that our animals and our environment will also be protected in the process.
And so you took
what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely essential that I would say this communion of spirit between your people, your land, your space be understood and shared with the mining community. And so you took this thought and this idea to Janet in May of 2018, you said? And
yes.
How did Janet react to that?
She was like, that's a good idea. Like, Janet was really open to the idea, and she, I feel she understood where we were coming from, and
okay.
as elders, and so
she implemented it with you. You set it up. How did that go? And what were the role of the women and in the mining in your space with the elders?
Well, most of the women elders in the elders in residence program are women, are Kaska women, and our the Kaska Nation is based on a matriarchal system. That's how it was before all this,
before things changed.
Yes, before all this patriarchal attitude started. And so the women in the Kaska communities are basically like the backbone of our Kaska Nation. And we've been sort of pushed aside for years. And so now we're finding our voice through this Elders in Residence program too. And we want our voices, voices heard, and we want to be respected as elders, as women elders too. And and I like to see that, a lot of our elders, we were raised up in a traditional way of, we were taught the old ways. I was taught the old ways from my parents and our elders. So a lot of us, we feel our land, we're connected to our land. We have a spiritual connection, and we like to see our land protected and not just completely destroyed by the mine companies. We still have a lot of traditional medicines on our lands. We still have a lot of our animals need to be protected, and we want to work with the mine companies to let them know that we want our environment to be not to be destroyed, but to be
respected.
Yes, and
so did you? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Because
we're going through a lot of changes too, with climate change, with a lot of changes among the Indigenous people, and I'd like to see our people involved more. Like the mine companies have to start reaching out to us and getting guidance from our elders.
So in the way that you reached out to Janet, and I do understand how difficult it must have been, and so with Janet and Golden Predator, which is the mining company, can you tell us a few of the changes that the Elders in Program or the Elders in Residence Program was able to achieve, particularly in the women's space? Like, what were some of, I know there are numerous achievements, but can you highlight perhaps some of them that you were involved in, that where women elders contributed to make a difference and bring closer together the Kaska people, your traditions, your beliefs and understandings, and the mining? Because I understand you continue to work with Golden Predator. Is that correct?
Yes, but at the moment, right now, like there seems to be a standstill. There's like, I guess what's happening right now is Golden Predator wanted to get a 10-year permit on our at 3 ACEs, but apparently Elephant Chieftain Council gave them a year's permit, and they're basically just giving them a hard time.
So they're it's a slightly off topic, but I'm guessing that they're probably working together to find the right space for consultation to achieve renewal of the permit.
Yes, I guess right now they're still in the process of trying to work out their differences and misunderstandings and try to come to
an agreement, an understanding.
Yeah, an agreement and a workable situation.
And I'm sure they will. It's always a challenge. And thank you for highlighting that. Coming back to the Elders in Residence program, we were all very impressed. I mean, it took somebody that came out of a residential school system, and we don't have to go into those details. Somebody, and you've mentioned some of your challenges, and yet, by all accounts, from the chamber, from the Chamber of Mines, from Yukon, from Women in Mining Yukon, I hear there were many achievements. Could you talk to us a little bit about those achievements that were successful with your Elders in Residence program with Golden Predator?
I think the achievements that we accomplished was to bring our people together. Like Golden Predator, they arranged for elders and youth from the Ross River and Upper Yard and Watson communities to come together, like to work at the mines, to at the Golden Predator 3 ACEs. And the program brought our people together.
And so it brought your people together. And did you find that there was a better understanding by the mining community of who you were as a people, what your traditions were what your culture was? Did you feel that made a difference?
I believe so, yes. Like, I think like it was a good experience for all of us, like for the Kaska elders and youth and for the mine company staff. Like, I think it brought us, like, there was, I guess, an understanding. And I believe that the mine companies started to learn our culture, the staff, the mine company staff, like, started to, like there was, they started to understand us, I guess, and
maybe respect as well, perhaps trust, respect.
I believe so. Yes, I believe there was respect there, and even the CEO and her husband started learning our language. And
That's a challenge. That's difficult.
Yes, like some of the elders were teaching the staff at the Three Aces Golden Predator mine camp on how to speak our language. So there was some cross-cultural teachings, and and that's what the Elders in Residence program, I feel, was. It's important.
Absolutely.
So that we could teach the mine company staff about, our
Who
language.
you are, yep, and your history and your contribution to the whole industry, so to speak.
Yes, and also it brought us back to our land. This when we were out at Three Aces, all us elders and youth for the 2-day retreat was a really good experience for me and other elders, because our people came together. We got together and we came back on the land.
And were there other, besides, so Three Aces for our audience is the mining camp that belongs to Golden Predator. And they had a 2-day, my understanding is that there was a 2-day retreat where elders and youth came together at this camp. Were there other non-Indigenous people at the retreat, or was it just Kaska people?
It was Kaska people and the staff at the mine companies.
So it was everybody together.
Yes, everybody together, and there was 2 filmmakers from Kaska communities of Ross River, 2 Kaska men that were making a film too about our program.
Excellent.
And so they were there to film us, and they interviewed some elders, and it was just a good experience, because our people got together and we told stories around the campfire. There was drumming.
Sounds wonderful. It sounds, and I believe the video of that, those 2 days were launched at PDAC last year. Is that not correct?
Pardon?
Did you not launch the video of this 2-day retreat at PDAC last year? Or sorry, not last year, this spring in March?
Yes.
So the testimony to the success of this program that you launched is actually currently in film, and that is something people can see as well, I believe.
Yes, and there's a second part to it.
And when will you be releasing that?
I think it's released already.
It is already released. Well,
yes.
We'll make sure to put the link. We'll find the link and put it, because I think it is a testimony. I have been privileged to see the first part, and it is incredible testimony to the journey that you launched for your people, but also for women and Indigenous women. And for our audience, there will be a link attached. Just send us a request at info@wimcanada.org, and we will send you the link to the video. It is well worth watching. Mary, talk to me a little bit, or talk to our audience a little bit about the challenges. So you've mentioned the challenges about women. You come from a matriarchy, which is very important to mention and to highlight. and yet you do feel that you and the women of your people are sidelined by other men, be they from your own community or other communities. You also have grandchildren. You have obviously children and grandchildren. What advice do you give to your grandchildren and particularly your granddaughters about remaining true to your culture, true to being a woman, but also true to coming out of poverty and interfacing with the mining industry? Can you share some thoughts with us on that?
What was the question again?
Sorry. If you were talking to your granddaughters, what would
Mm-hmm.
you tell them today about being a woman, being an Indigenous woman, and mining?
I would say to my granddaughters that it's important for the Indigenous woman to be involved in the mining industry because we're part of Mother Earth, and that it's important for us women to be assertive and be proactive in the mining industry because what they're doing on our land, like extracting the minerals and resources, is it's our land and we have a say.
Absolutely.
We have to start being proactive and also like all that mining activity going on our land, it's going to affect our land, our environment, and the animals on our land, and we want to make sure that the mining industry do their mining in a way that will protect our land and that they have to be respectful of our land and our animals so that we could still have our land and our animals for our future generation, for our granddaughters and our grandkids.
And great granddaughters. And those are very important parts. So if I'm hearing you properly, you want to make sure you want to be partners and participate together with the industry. Is that correct?
Yes, because we want to have our benefits too. Like we want to
share
benefit.
Yes, of course.
From from the monies they're earning, and also we want to make sure that they just don't come on our land and just destroy our land.
So the respect of who you are, your land, and I'm hearing the concerns over, of course, climate change, and that in the future, so for your great granddaughters and grandsons, the land is still there.
Yes.
How do you and absolutely hear you and agree with that. So what does proactive mean? If I'm a young Indigenous woman and there are mining, you went and you grabbed the opportunity, you talked to Janet, you found a voice, you used that voice to talk with Janet, and together with Janet, my understanding is in Golden Predator, you built this program. Looking forward, what does proactive mean for young women, young Indigenous? Would you think of education, for example, or empowerment? What do those? What would proactive mean for a young woman in the Indigenous community today?
Well, like long time ago when I was young, I didn't have the opportunities like young people have nowadays, and we didn't have mining on our land. like they have now. Like there's about 7, 8 mine companies on our traditional land, and I'd like to see young Indigenous women start getting involved in finding their voices and becoming proactive, meaning like they need to start going to meetings, start like whenever
participating in the community actively.
Yes. And when the mine companies come to our communities, they should attend these meetings and start speaking up and voicing their concerns. And
where would you, sorry, and express, yes?
And expressing their concerns or expressing themselves, you know?
Absolutely. No, I think it's difficult for anybody in getting at that level. So definitely being heard, being part of the conversation. Can you share some thoughts on education? So traditional and non-traditional education and their place in evolving in your community and in the larger mining community for women in particular?
Yes, because, well, you know, I feel that there's an attitude in the mine companies that, and even in society, that women were not respected. We're kind of like even in the Kaska community, like we've been sort of oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
And because the mining industry is sort of viewed as a man's domain, and there's still yet a lot of attitudes in society and among our own people that women, there's still sexist attitudes toward us as
And
women.
So and you're right. And so to fight that, do you see education as a tool to be able to fight back? How do we make how do we make our voices heard? And I agree. I think your point about being proactive in community life, being present, participating. I personally am a very strong advocate of education in many different forms. So, you know, certainly the Indigenous education, the oral traditions, those are very important. How do you see that playing out for young Indigenous women in the next 50 years? Is that something you see? Where do you see that in the space of mining and women and indigenous communities?
Well, I believe that education is important, and a lot of our young people should begin into geology and courses.
Science.
You know?
So in the space, learning about the land and sciences and bringing that to the table as well in the conversation.
Pardon?
No, that's fine. So using what they learn to bring it to the table to interface with the mining communities, for example, and to gain a place and a standing as an Indigenous woman. Education is a good tool to do that. Would you agree?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
It's important. Like we need education. Also, like because education could help our people to get out of our poverty. And like I encourage a lot of our young Indigenous women to get involved through education And education is important because it'll help us get out of our poverty, and it'll open up doors for us, for our young people and our Indigenous women to get back into the workforce and help us to, lift up our self-esteem.
So building self-confidence, building self-esteem, very important.
Yes. Yeah, like a lot of us Native women, we've been oppressed and by society, by our own bands, by our own Kaska, like men are leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's important for us to work on ourselves to heal. For me, I know that's what helped me on my healing journey was to work on my art, and that's what helped me on my healing journey. My art and my writings helped me to lift myself from all the trauma that I experienced. It helped me to cope with all my art, with my healing journey.
That's very, very, so that's actually very incredible. And for the audience, Mary has painted some amazing, has done some amazing works, has done some amazing paintings. She has also written a book about her journey. We don't have a lot of time left, so you see the time does go very quickly. But I would like you to perhaps share with us something about your book and your journey, and how as an Indigenous woman that helped. Perhaps maybe not get rid of the past, but address what happened and move on into the future. Would you like to share some thoughts on how that journey of writing that book happened and helped you?
Okay, my book, it's called My Healing Journey, and it's a book I wrote about my experience in Lower Post Residential School. And I wrote my book in poetry form, and I also got my artwork incorporated in my book. And it took me a long time to get it published. Like, I wrote my book when I was back in the 1990s. That's when I started on my healing journey. And I started writing my story in poetry form. And it took me a long time to write my book, but my friend Ursula Fedora, she works at the Watson Lake Library. She helped me to type up my book and edit it, and then I tried to find a publisher. And then what happened was in 2010 I went to Germany for 6 weeks for an art project.
Mm-hmm.
And I went over there with Dena Shorty, his wife Jenny, and Mark Preston, who's a Tlingit artist, and myself. We went over there in 2010 for a 6-week art project. And the last week of that 6-week project, I met Bernd Damia. She's the director for a non-profit society called Working for Indians Today. And she helped me find a publisher in Germany. In 2014, I was invited over by my publisher, Christian Schmallen, and they published my book. It's published in Germany. And
that is fantastic. And congratulations. What a journey.
Yes, it's been a long journey, but I overcame a lot of adversity and trauma, and I overcame a lot of obstacles, and I'm still on my healing journey. And I'm working on my autobio now, but my book it's available online. It's published by Tramfanger Verlag. It's the name of the publishing company that Christian Smollen's company's name is.
Okay.
And it's published online, or it's available online.
Yes, of course.
And my publisher's name is Christian Groper Smollen.
And to the audience listening, if anybody wants any further information on how to get access to that book, just send us again an email at info@wimcanada.org, and we will make sure we give you all of the information so that you can purchase a copy of Mary's book. I can tell you it is very enlightening, and it is a lot to learn, certainly from my perspective when I read it. A very, very humbling piece of work, and a very beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Congratulations, Mary, and we'll look forward to your autobiography, and then we'll have another webinar where you can tell us about your autobiography.
Yes.
In closing, you've mentioned Susan Magoon, who's online and whom I also would like to publicly thank. Susan has been instrumental in helping Mary set this webinar up, but also she mentioned helping Mary throughout the process of the Elders in Residence program. Mary, a few words from you, if you will, about the importance of teamwork in achieving your vision.
Okay. First of all, I'd just like to add to the video or the film that was produced with Golden Predator, and that if things are done in the right way, then everything will work. And as for teamwork, I believe it's a good thing. Like it's a good way to work together to get things done. And like our elders, our old elders, like I remember this story. My mom, growing up, my mom and dad told me stories, and one of the stories my mom told me was a long time ago, like when the woman worked together, all the people, and even working with moose hide, all the women would help each other to make a moose hide, and that's how it was done a long time ago. Our people, our ancestors used to work together to survive on the land and to live together. And that's how, that's what I call teamwork. And our people, a long time ago, when they got a moose or something, when the men hunt, they all went hunting, and they would all work together to get the moose back home. Like it was a process. Teamwork's a process, and everybody, I feel, has a say, and that's how it was done a long time ago. So we need to bring our old teachings, our values back into our community meetings, into our,
Yes, I agree with you. Bringing those values. I think that word is excellent. Into today, we achieve the whole is so much stronger than the sum of the parts, and I think that's probably a very good way to sort of bring this to an end. That together we can achieve in cooperation and in an open spirit of respect, as you've mentioned, that we can
Yes,
achieve a lot more.
yes, we could. Like there's strength in numbers.
I agree with you. Strength in numbers is absolutely true.
Yes.
Mary, we only have a few minutes left. Leave us with your parting words. What would you like us to close this webinar until the next webinar with you? What would you like to close with?
I'd just like to say that I really feel honored to be awarded with the award for Indigenous Woman for Trailblazer. And because this is the first time I ever won an award, and I feel really honored about it. And I just wanted to say thank you to the woman in mining for the award, and for all the people that worked together in forming the Elders and Residents program. I'd like to thank Janet Sheriff, her husband Bill, the staff at Three Aces and Golden Predator, and I'd like to thank Susan Magan and the CLOs for the other mine companies on our land. And I'd like to see our Elders and Residents program continue, and so that we could prosper as a Kaska Nation. We could prosper and help our grandkids, our children, and our future generation. And I just wanted to say that. And also just wanted to say again, like if things are done in the right way, then everything will work.
Mary, I like that. If everything is done in the right way, things will work. I can't agree more. And thank you for those thoughts. I can tell you on behalf of all of the board and all of the members of Women in Mining Canada and all of our branches, it is a true honor and privilege to have you as one of our recipients. We have a lot to learn. We have a lot to grow. You truly represent the spirit of a trailblazer, somebody who opened a path, who was fearless, maybe perhaps sometimes not even totally realizing the amazing steps and strides you were taking. For all of that, we as women in general, and certainly women in this industry, we thank you. We have a lot to learn, and we look to your wisdom and your strength as inspiration.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I won't let you go. I have 2 more minutes. I would like to use this to our audience as a segue. Segue, I think is the word. We will be launching our Women in Mining Trailblazer Award Series for 2020 next week.
Yes.
So to Mary and to everybody listening, if you know women like Mary out there or young Indigenous students, please think of nominating them. The criteria are on our website, but I will be posting on all the social media the criteria. But until that is done next week, please, if you can think of Indigenous women or Indigenous students that are worthy, like yourself, of this award, we would be very grateful if you could identify them and nominate them so that we can honor and highlight their achievements as well.